call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Moore. Councilman McEnroe.
Present.
Present. Councilman Tell.
Here.
Councilman Martell.
Present.
Thank you. I move to accept the minutes from the regular town board meeting of April 22nd, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I move to accept the minutes of the special town board meeting of May 1st, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the communications?
We have received the following communications in the office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the Suffolk County Department of Economic Development and Planning for aquaculture lease board meeting notice for tomorrow at 5 p.m. at 300 Center Drive in Riverhead. Town of East Hampton, public hearing notices. Town of Southampton, public hearing notices. Village of West Hampton Beach, zoning board of appeal applications for 13 Stacy Drive and 414 Boone Road. Town fire districts, Riverhead Fire District. Notice of special election on May 13th, 3 to 9 p.m., 540 Roanoke Avenue, Riverhead. Annual statement of financial disclosure filings from the listed individuals and emails, letters, and town use, land use applications have been received regarding the following. The abandonment of Spinney Road in East Quogue, Chapter 298, real property tax exemption for ocean rescue squads, Eastport Mobile Home Park activity, Eastport, Gabreski Airport noise increase mitigation, notice of intent to sell unit number 7, Courtyard, Southampton, Savannah Lane, proposed WQIP grant applications for Mecox Bay, Conservation Board wetlands application for 24 Sunset Avenue, East Quogue, Zoning Board of Appeals application for 2102 and 2033 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton, and 20 Westway Drive, Shinnecock Hills. Bid and request for proposals were received on Wednesday, April 23rd, a rebid for activity vehicles, and April 30th, 2025, a bid for Bridgehampton Community House column restoration, bid for 8 AMS outside vending machines, bid for inspection and repair of fuel pump fire suppression systems, and a bid for Sockmaster 12 auger bucket, silt sock filler attachment. On Wednesday, May 7th, a bid for fencing and stakes, and a bid for private or municipal markets for disposal services for municipal solid waste. And the following report was filed from the Town Comptroller for the April 2025 monthly financial reports. And that concludes the communications for this meeting's agenda.
Thank you. I do have 3 walk-ons that I would like to move to add to the agenda. The first is Town Board Resolution ID number 49889 to authorize first-time home buyers down payment assistance funding from the Community Housing Fund. The second is Town Board Resolution ID number 49892 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Arcadis Architects, Engineers, and Landscape Architects, a general partnership for professional services related to the Jackson Avenue Master Plan. And the third is Town Board Resolution ID number 49920, which is the warrant number 9. We need to add those to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the first public hearing?
Certainly. Public hearing number 1 to amend Chapter 330, Section 183.1A9 to clarify requirements for administrative approval of municipal projects and enacting a new standard 330-183.1A11 to allow for approval of any plans so ordered by a court stipulation of settlement.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and members of the board. Wow, that's loud. Janice Shearer, Town Planning and Development Administrator. I just wanted to clarify the intent of this code. We often have a lot of municipal projects that you have already vetted gone out to bid, and they're what we call type 2 actions, meaning they're under the threshold where you have to conduct secra. And in those cases, you would grant the ability for me to administratively approve them. So then they don't have to go through a whole site plan, but obviously you vetted them through your process here. So that would be a 9, and it's only for type 2. If it's unlisted or type 1, then obviously you would have to have the public hearing and conduct secra as lead agency yourselves. So that's 183.1A9. And then 183.1A11 is, in the rare case that this happens, this did happen once before with the Stop and Shop in Hampton Bays. There was a court order that required the town to approve something. So if the town has to approve something, that would fall onto you to do the secra, have the public hearings, et cetera, and then when everyone was satisfied, I can sign the plans. So then they don't have to do a duplicate process through the planning board. So they both of these amendments allow for public discourse, allow for secra. It's just the type 2 actions would allow me as your administrator to sign off when it's a municipal project, and then if it's a court order, obviously you have to still vet it here, but it wouldn't then have to go to a second board because it's already a court order. So.
Yeah.
So then that's it. If you have any questions.
No, but we do have some public comment.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Stay close by. Ray D'Angelo.
Currently, Ray D'Angelo, Hampton Bays, in case any of you don't know me. I'm here. I want to relate this to a situation we have now in Hampton Bays, which is 93 East Montauk Highway, which is the cannabis dispensary that wants to be put there. The originally the former board, Schneiderman, Schiavone, and Duryea, they passed that opt-in thing without a public hearing. And it's really interesting because half the town now is subject to this and the other half is not. And it's really, I don't understand. I said to Mr. Schneiderman several times, why is it, okay for the villages not to have it? They don't want it, but we have to take it. And there was never a public hearing with this thing. And now we have this situation now, in the fullness of disclosure, at St. Rosaries. I'm a parishioner, I'm a member of the Holy Name Society. This facility, and we want the thing to be considered a campus. We have a drug intervention program there. We have preschool from Our Lady of Mercy, Our Lady of the Hamptons. And it's very distressing. And we're one of the few churches, I think the only church, it's a Catholic church, that's subject to this. And, it just brings up questions of like the 14th Amendment, equal protection. Why we're dealing with this and other people don't have to deal with this at all. And this was never a public hearing. And so I feel we don't want to, retreat from public hearings. We need to have these public hearings no matter what. And this is a very, very blatant situation where we did not have one. And now we have this situation where we're being mistreated. I feel this is going to end up in a court case. And right now, I've just been reading the developers, some of the things they're coming up with and everything. And it's really, really outrageous situation that we're confronted with this. So I don't think that we should predetermine what can't that, and we should err on the side of everything needs a public hearing, and we shouldn't be retreating from it. We want to have transparency in government. That's what you ran on and everything. We don't want to have less. And from my experience, more public hearings are not a problem. It's not a burden on the town. We should have more of them. To retreat from that is not good government. And this determination of having half the villages out and us, again, we're not as wealthy as the villages. It's really, this dichotomy is really very, very telling. The very wealthy areas of the town, they didn't want this. They don't have it. Dump it in Hampton Bays, and that's where we have it now, right next to my church. So again, I urge you, don't vote for this. We need public hearings. We shouldn't be retreating from it. Thank you.
Well, Ray, I mean, I can't speak to what happened before when they adopted the,
Now that you mentioned my
You know,
coming back here,
but, I will say that the town sent out a letter when the application first came in about the cannabis at that location saying we
Well, you're
didn't
gonna have to do
believe
more
that-
because they just wrote a letter to the, they're bypassing you, they're going to the commissioner and to the governor.
But we wrote a
Ram
letter
down.
to
We did a survey with the Civic.
Right, let her finish. Let
We
her
wrote-
finish.
Well, wait a minute.
No, but you interrupted her. Let the supervisor just
Mike,
finish a second.
Mike, don't, you interrupted me now. It's
Ray.
Mike, she doesn't need you to defend her. Okay? It's 80-20. It's 80-20 against this thing. This is an outrageous thing. Go ahead, Supervisor, I didn't mean to
just that
interrupt you.
we wrote a letter saying we didn't, to the state, saying that they didn't comply. We felt they didn't comply with the regulations. And then and my understanding is that the chief building inspector just recently also sent a similar letter to the state that it shouldn't be approved for those reasons. So, they might be
Well,
making an issue of it, but, we've gone on the record
I have
twice.
the article from Business News, I guess it's the Business News Daily or whatever it is, and they enumerate very reasons why it should be there. They want to measure door to door, and they're saying that the school is not a registered school. So, they said they spent $500,000, though money shouldn't be a matter in terms of children's safety and everything. And I know I'm probably more conservative on this because I just know about all the funerals I've gone to of friends and fellow firefighters that their sons and daughters died of overdoses, and in many cases started with marijuana. So I know we lost that case, but now this is outrageous. Not only that, there's a Carvel there where I take my grandchildren to get ice cream and everything right next to this place. So we have a lot of people. We have like over 1,000 signatures. So I don't think this is going away. I urge you to do as much as you can. I know we have two board members here who are running for re-election. I hope they're going to be on the right side of this issue, and so we can support them from Hampton Bays, which we'll be looking for you to be on the right side of this issue. And it's an emotional issue for me. I just can't believe that our church is getting picked on, and it's being singled out. You go to Mr. Schneiderman lives in Southampton Village. They don't sell it in Southampton Village. Why?
Well, the thing about the village is I don't think they should be criticized for opting out. That was a sensible decision in their opinions, and they have
What's this?
mayors and boards to advocate for them. And for the rest of the hamlets, we
So
have
who
this
should we
board.
criticize? Mr. Schneiderman for opting us in?
Well, we're doing everything we can on this board to protect every hamlet in this town.
Well, I hope that I think you should pass a resolution and send it to the governor. You're all here now, vote a resolution and tell them, I know it's non-binding, that you don't support this. This is singling out a place of worship.
Councilmember Iacilli did write to our state assemblyman and said that we would like the law changed, but they said that it's not, that you can't
I want the
just
whole
opt
board to
out
get
now.
behind it,
Right, but we can't opt out.
because
now.
we
That
have to
was the
account of what
answer.
the previous board did to us. So that's what I feel.
They would have to change the state would have to change the law now, after the fact. And
They don't have to change the law. They have to,
because the
well,
law
this is
if you don't opt out,
this is a matter of interpretation of the law.
what
Okay.
about this particular location? Yeah,
Alright.
but in general, whether we can opt out now, that's.
Well, that's not,
don't
I'm not,
repeat
we're
it,
not,
It's not an option.
we're not proposing, because we thought that was a fight too far, a bridge too far. We're not suggesting that you have to opt out of this thing now. We're opting out, and we're not realize it's legal, but we don't want this. This is a bad location, and they should go some other place. And that's where our fight is. And we're pretty upset about it. Like I said, we did a survey at the Civic. It's 80-20. We've got 1,000 signatures. The whole parish is upset about it. And I think it would do well, again, you guys are running for office, that you're on the right side of this argument. And I think that I would like the board to pass a non-binding resolution, send it to the governor, say this is a bad location. We urge them to be, follow with the determination that we did from the whole board, that it's, from building line to building line, because it is a campus. We have a drug intervention program there. It's all kinds of things. So I'm hoping that you would do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So just to clarify about being on the right side of the record, I did offer to go with Father Mataloni to our state representatives to, give him my support, so.
Yeah, and I don't know why we couldn't do a letter, to follow up on what the building inspector wrote. Okay, and then the next speaker is Gail Lombardi.
Good afternoon. So we got a little off track on the actual issue with that cannabis site, but the way Ray started it is the fact that there wasn't public input. And so somebody contacted me because this seemed like an innocuous potential resolution, and it's not. I looked at 183, 1A9, and and forgive me, you may need a couple of extra seconds here because my seeing eye person wasn't here today. Approval of solar installations and other capital improvements on municipally owned properties that are the subject of RFPs, blah, blah, blah. And it needs to go to a public hearing. The list of type 2 items is like 100 things. It's not like some innocuous contract or some innocuous quick fix on a building. It could be much more substantial. And the fact is, what's happening now with the cannabis, what happened with the HBDOD, what happened with the BES, is the public is not brought in early to discuss it, to vet it, and at the end of the day, we're in a battle a year or two later after people make investments. In this case, I thought John Lynch, if I'm correct, was pretty articulate about the West Hampton site in the town of Southampton being used for a number of different things, from BES to a solar array, and they were concerned about it. So basically, you're saying that it's a possibility that it won't even go to public hearing. It's absurd. Taking away a public hearing, making it less, taking away something is absurd to me. Spending time on this, what is the possibility of a major project that is a type 2, that's going to go to a planning board meeting, the existence of it? I don't know why we're having this conversation. Because to me, having this conversation, like I said, again, somebody brought this to my attention, asked me to look at it because of my understanding of secret, is that there's something in the works that you guys don't want to have a public hearing on. There's like a red flag. And people are suspect of town government based on BES, based on HBDOD, based on the array over at Southampton, based on the sewage treatment plant. I troll because I'm afraid that I'm going to wake up one day and there's going to be a bulldozer next to my house building a road, a sewage treatment plant, without me ever knowing about it. So I don't think this is a good idea. I don't even know why you're considering it. It's so insignificant. How many are there? We're not talking about contracts. It's got to be a major capital improvement that would be a site plan going before the planning board. Anything on a municipal thing should have a public hearing. Whether it's it's not. We're not talking about contracts. It's an innocuous contract. That, of course, wouldn't even be part of that law. So I really would appreciate if you leave in public hearings, don't take away, people's voices. It's really not good government, as Ray said. Thanks.
Thank you.
Director Scherer, I have a couple of questions. Thank you.
Hi.
What was the impetus to this resolution?
Sure. So type 2 actions are not major projects. They're small projects. They're when CPF wants to put a bathroom. They're if the Parks Department is doing a walkover. There's a list. There's many things on the list, but they all say like in kind, in replacement, under 4,000 square feet. There's like very, very specific things. And if it's not on that list, it's not a type 2 action. It's unlisted or type 1, which then clarifies that you do. I think it's being seen in the opposite. We're clarifying that you do need a public hearing for unlisted and type 1 actions, not that you don't.
So is this resolution reducing public input?
It's clarifying that if it's a type 2 action,
Yeah.
and you've already gone out to bid. You've already approved the financing
This
for
is
the
the whole,
project.
this is the missing part that I think that
Yeah.
people aren't understanding is when we do something on a municipal property, we've already vetted it. We've had work sessions, we've had public hearings, we have gone out to, we're not going out for an RFP on something to spend
You've already
taxpayer
approved the
dollars.
budget for it.
Unless we have, exactly, unless we have money lined up for it as a capital project. We have gone out to the public, we've done work sessions.
Could you use an example of that?
Solar
What-
on,
No,
see
that
that?
went to, the solar on the landfill was a type 2 action, actually. It was changed by the state that allowed it. So that was a type 2 action. But everything else is capital projects that you, let's say, things that the Parks Department is looking to do, things you want them to do.
So how would this-
Redoing a ball field, that's a type 2
Right.
action.
So how
But
would
they
that-
still need someone to sign the plan so they can get the, the grant or the permit or whatever. They need signatures. And so we can't do that if then we have to go back and do a whole new public hearing or go to the planning board. We had the same thing happen in Hampton Bays, the Maritime Park. The town board went to bid. Everybody was satisfied. It went to the planning board, and the planning board wanted to make all these changes that nobody actually wanted and were going to cost a lot more money. And it was in this, who's the lead agency? You are. When it's a municipal project on a municipal property, that is in your realm, and
Well,
you
but
are
Janice,
authorizing
can't
me
we-
to sign what you've approved.
Can't
That's
we
what this
just
is.
keep the public hearing, but not have to have it go to the planning board? Because that seems like what you were saying was causing the big delay.
It's just clarifying that the type 2 things, the in-kind replacements, which are benign, don't require a hearing because you've already allowed
we've
for
already
them.
had public hearings as part of the capital
But unlisted and
projects.
type 1 do. So it's just making it so the idea that this big list of type 2 things that are major projects, those two things don't go together. A major project and a type 2 list are worlds that can't be. A type 2 list is a benign, minuscule project. It's not a unlisted, or type 1 means possible significant impact. Unlisted is it doesn't appear on type 2 and it doesn't appear on type 1. If it's not on either one of those lists, it's unlisted, and that requires a public hearing.
So
So it's
Janice,
very, very specific.
so if this passes and this goes through and the dispensary came up,
And what
dispensary in Hampton Bays next to
that has to go to the planning board. That's not a municipal project.
this has nothing to do with that.
No, that's a private project. We're talking about CPF, Parks Department, Highway Department,
So with the Bel Air Cove,
municipal projects on public property that meet the type 2 criteria, which are in-kind replacement, like a bulkhead, something that was already there that they're redoing, which we wouldn't even see that anyway. That's a trustee thing. You know what I mean? I'm saying
We can't even approve the funding for those projects without public input.
yes, that's why it's redundant. You're doing it twice. So
They would
that's
not
what
be
it's.
subject to a public hearing normally anyway. You're just skipping having to go back to the planning board for their.
Yeah. It's a type 2 list. So, I mean, I can circulate what the type 2 list is, but it's very much like in-kind replacement, in-kind things, and structures under a certain size. Anything beyond that has to come for a public hearing, and that's what was clarifying. They have to come for a public hearing, not that they don't have to. So that's the part that confuses me, because I think it's being construed as taking something away when I was actually making it clear that they have to come.
The underlined part is the addition.
The underlying part is coming in
Yeah,
for unlisted and type 1 actions. You have to have a public hearing. So,
The rest of it's already there.
yeah.
and when is this? It's on for today.
There's no decision, no. If you want changes, or you want further clarification, or you want to keep it, or change it, whatever. I'm just trying to make it clear, because your parks, CPF, highway come to me and say, how do we get this done? We need to mobilize, we need these people out here, these things have to happen. And it's like, well, I have to schedule a public hearing a month out again, even though you've already authorized it. And then you have to go to the planning board again, even though you've already authorized it. So it's trying to streamline it, which saves money for the taxpayer and for you. So we thought it was a good idea to clarify when you need to come and when you don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anybody else have any questions about that? So we,
What's this? What's the
discuss it.
sponsors?
Request permission to make one comment, please.
All right, well, quickly. Because you did get off track in the last one.
I'm sorry, I should have been, I apologize, I was a
You
little.
don't, Ray, you don't have to touch that mic. It's very sensitive. It's not like the old ones.
Okay. I just want to say that in the senior center next door, which was the Mormon temple, the town renovated that. Now, I don't know if that would have been a type 2, but it's a terrible renovation. We should have had more, some of it was supposed to go to us. They created that room, which I feel it's a room of public assembly, and it's not a safe room for public assembly. And that should have been subject to a hearing. And I would have went there and said, well, this is, we need more room. This is not right what they did. They crammed everybody in there. And that situation would have greatly benefited from a public hearing, in contrary with Ms. Shearer is saying. So I have to take issue with this. A public hearing serve a purpose. You're spending public's money, and it's good government to have them. We should have a right to opine. And any less opining is not good. That was a terrible renovation. It robbed us of additional room which we needed. And again, it ended up with that room of doom there where it's terrible. The second means egress goes into a hallway with another door. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, let's give this some more thought. We can close the public hearing.
Yeah.
There could be changes forthcoming. Anyway, I move to close the first public hearing.
If anyone,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Is anyone on Zoom, Kevin?
He said there wasn't.
No one's on Zoom.
Thanks. So I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the second public hearing?
Public hearing number 2, to amend Town Code, Chapter 312, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Article 7, entitled Seasonal Parking Restrictions in Designated Locations, Section 312-37, entitled Watermill, May 15th to September 15th.
Supervisor, members of the board, Christine Scalera, Deputy Town Attorney. The Superintendent of Highways asked that I just have this adjourned for the following meeting so that they can have somebody come in to explain. But my understanding is it's really just conforming the code with what's on the ground. But they can be here in 2 weeks if that's okay.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, with me.
Thanks.
I just, on that, I mean, I'm fine with being, this is housekeeping, I would be fine with going through with it, only because at the next public hearing, we have, the best code is on, and there's a number of other topics on.
Yeah. I mean, we were going to go ahead with it,
Yeah.
but then Christine said that Charlie would like to come in and
'Cause I'm fine with it
speak
too.
to us
I'm
about
sure
it.
he'd be fine with close, I mean, if you're comfortable with it and you wanted to close it, I'm sure he's fine with it. If there's some issue, we can always withdraw it at that time. You don't have to,
Yeah, it was
Up to you.
reopened if you needed.
I'm fine.
You're sure that he didn't ask to come in
No.
because he had something he wanted to change or discuss?
he didn't indicate
We can
that.
leave it open
He
for 2
just,
weeks.
he was unfamiliar with it and he was trying to,
Okay, well then,
He's spoken with all of us. I think we can close it.
And we close it, we could leave it open for public comment for 2 weeks.
yeah, let's do that. All right, I move to close the public hearing and leaving it
Was there
open
anybody
for
on Zoom
written-
or?
Anybody on Zoom, Kevin?
No one on Zoom.
Okay.
All right, good. So we'll close the public hearing, leave it open for written comments for 2 weeks.
thank you.
Thanks,
Second.
Christine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the third public hearing?
Public hearing number 3, amending Chapter 298, establishing Article 19, 298-59, eligibility for a tax exemption on real property for enrolled members of Ocean Rescue Squads.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and members of the Town Board. Assistant Town Attorney Sean Cambridge presenting this. So this is legislation that's brought due to state enabling legislation to provide a tax exemption for members of ocean rescue squads. It requires a resolution from the town or village acknowledging an ocean rescue squad first. Second, proof of residency of a member. Third, exclusive use of their home as a home. So if they were to run a business or home office, their exemption would be reduced by the percentage of that home used for that reason. So if it's a accountant and a residence, half of that exemption is going to be issued for the residential portion of that home. And the assessor will calculate which portion of that home is used for what purpose.
Is that why it's, I didn't understand why it said up to 10%.
Right, it's a prorated formula. So if you're using your home as something else that's not a residence, you don't get an exemption for being a volunteer.
Not the whole 10%.
Correct. Right, not for the commercial purpose on the residential structure.
So if you do 80% of your house and do 20% of your office and garage,
Exactly.
you don't get it.
And do we do this, Sean, is this also following in line with other exemptions that we give to other service
This
providers?
is very similar to what we give to volunteer firefighters and EMS members.
So it is in that line?
Certainly, very comparable. The last component here is that the town or village will determine how membership is established and procedures for that.
And for the town, if somebody's interested, they are part of the Southampton Ocean Rescue Squad, they would contact the assessor?
Yes, to file for this exemption, you contact the assessor. And this is created with the idea that more ocean rescue squads may come to be. So they can have a process laid out, how to form, how to have members join, and how to get these exemptions.
And then just a point of clarification, because a lot of these members are also already members of the ambulance or fire department and receiving a similar discount. This isn't a second discount. This is only for those not currently receiving
Correct.
deduction.
It's good clarification.
And where does it say, how do they apply? I mean, is there a deadline?
Through the assessor's office, there's a length of service requirement, 2 to 5 years. And there are various benefits for death of a spouse and things like that.
So but it's not on the assessor to determine, they've got to come in and apply for it?
They have to come in and apply for that, correct. All right, thanks, everybody.
This is great, thank
I
you.
mean, usually with like some of the other ones, the exemptions, it has to be done by a certain time of the year, like the end of March, but I just didn't see anything in here like that.
Well, so the town, that fifth step we were talking about is the town needs to create a procedure for how to enroll members and what any deadlines, things like that would be.
The assessor will set that.
It would be inappropriate to put that type of scheduling ahead of the legislation even enabling this.
Should be in line with the other volunteer, with the volunteer firemen and.
Right.
Fire.
So the town will have to pass a resolution saying the means and methods for deadlines, for how to apply, how to join, which organizations within the town are recognized, and so on and so forth, after this is presumably passed.
Is this on for today?
This is on for today. There's a resolution of adoption, 2025-663, if the board's inclined to adopt.
Yep.
And just to be clear, we'd likely have to have another resolution to
Setting the
establish
schedule.
those, right, the schedule, the procedures, all that.
Sounds easy enough.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Kim?
Temperature down? Or turn the fan on?
It's getting hot in here. Can I make a motion
I
to
think you're just,
close this?
Cindy, you're just tan from being out picking up the trash, right, your face?
Usually one of my allies.
I got sunburn on Mother's Day.
Yeah,
Check Zoom and we can close.
yeah, I mean, I don't know why
gotta
it's
check
not
the
all in
Zoom.
one, but.
We could always set, I'll reach out to Lisa and we
Put it
can
on
get
for the next meeting.
a schedule for the next meeting. Yeah.
For what?
Sean, we'll work on
Seems
that.
weird it's
Okay.
bifurcated, okay. Then I move to close
You
the
gotta
public.
check Zoom.
Oh, Zoom, what, third time in a row,
No one's on Zoom.
thanks.
There was provision
I
in
move to
the,
close the public hearing then.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
in the state law that was in enacting it to give us the ability to do this.
Correct.
There's probably language in there is about, when the exemption should be applied.
We
for.
could look at that. Thank you, council.
So nice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Right?
Quick recess. Just a quick recess. Thank you.
Well, just scoot, come back.
Good to public portion.
Can we just pause for a moment?
Sure. Can you get in? Sure.
Can we continue with public portion?
Yeah. Perfect. Well, he probably wants to be here for this part.
Well,
Michael.
We should just continue with public portion.
Let's keep going.
All right, so that brings us to the public portion.
I can say something to kill some time.
Well, you've got something to say?
Wednesday, the 28th, myself and Rick and Jackie and Matt will be at Hampton Civic to show the plan for the new park where the Bel Air Motel was
Matt who?
from
Passive
McLean.
Park.
Oh,
Yes, the Passive Park.
Passive Park
Yes.
for the Bel Air property?
Yes.
Perfect, that's great.
Ray invited us on the 28th of Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
I thought they always met on Monday.
It's a holiday on Monday.
Oh, May 18th?
It's
Well, I'll do that at the work session.
Is that the 18th or no?
No works.
the 28th.
Monday.
2/8.
28th is a Wednesday.
Oh, yes, it is.
Because we're off Monday.
Then today,
Not sure that's actually verified.
sorry.
Well, I'm glad we have the plans. Everybody's gonna be happy to see those.
Besides Gail? Higher authority.
Thanks.
And then on one of the buildings that CPF owns up in Flanders on 33 Beconic Trail was demolished today with
Yay.
cooperation from the highway department, the town engineer, and the transfer station, all working together. And to get this project done, they're gonna be starting tearing down a list of houses which the town owns over the next couple of years. to save
That
the town
is
money.
good teamwork. Thank you, Bill.
That's a good one. That's
All
been an
right,
eyesore in that neighborhood for a long time. That's a good one.
All right, well, let's go forward with the public portion. I have, the first card is Rachel Verno.
Rachel Verno. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking on behalf of our CAC that met last night. We discussed at length with Councilmember Martell the final draft of the Traffic Mitigation Report and Resolution 2025-666, which our members do not feel accurately reflects the request we made following our meeting back in January, which was for the DOT to conduct a corridor study from the intersection of Flying Point through Mecox Road, and not one that specifically emphasizes roundabouts. There is no consensus amongst our community regarding roundabouts, but there is a consensus for a corridor study, and our CAC sincerely hopes that the town will spend some additional time working on crafting a resolution that more clearly reflects the community's desire to address all issues on the corridor rather than one with such a narrow perspective. Thank you.
If I may, so I just, Sean, if you don't mind coming up really quick, I know that we worked on drafting this legislation subsequent the meeting with the Watermill CAC. We brought Tom Neely at the time. The task force was still doing its work. We reviewed a draft of the report. One of the recommendations is, of course, this project, and it's really not a project because nothing's happening yet, but this potential project that outlines two roundabouts in Watermill, bookending Montauk Highway. This was a request that came from the previous administration to look at finding a way to actually enhance the flow of traffic on Montauk Highway. As many of you know, Montauk Highway is a critical, especially in Watermill. There's a critical choke point there. The congestion is unrelenting in the summertime, so there certainly is a seasonal tendency to the traffic issues that occur in this area. When Tom Neely and I did sit with the CAC, we listened to everybody, what they had to say. There was one of the, I thought the consensus at the time had been that the way in which the state would embark on its study, because that's what this resolution would do. It would request that the state actually do the study to find out what would actually work here in this particular area. The consensus seemed to have been that there were concerns of the roundabouts, but that we would like to see what the state would come up with. And instead of just looking at the two roundabouts, capture the entire corridor. Now, Sean, I remember that we were talking a little bit about that We originally kind of wrote this legislation to be reflective of the actual project, and just in case anybody is inquisitive about what that entailed, this was it. This was the letter. To evaluate a possibility of using roundabouts on New York State Route 27 at Little Cobb and New York State Route 27 at Scuttle Hole and Watermill. So I'm just going to pass that around. We worked on a couple of drafts. Can you just talk about how this draft actually
So
does
once
that?
again, Assistant Town Attorney Sean Cambridge. So this, just to clarify, this is a state proposal, and they have to notify all the stakeholders of the study that they are already planning. So the town is not the moving agency on this. The town did not propose the study. The state proposed the study. And there's a statewide list of areas to study. And essentially the question is to opt in or opt out. There's a finite amount of resources throughout the state that will be worked on through this plan and Department of Transportation. And so the ultimate question is opt in or opt out. And the first step is for the state to conduct this study. So this resolution.
Sean, if I can just correct the record, though, this was in response to a request that came from the town. The town had requested that be preliminarily evaluated.
Correct.
Back in 2019, and they wrote back saying we did a preliminary evaluation and found the following.
Right.
That
So this
roundabouts would have merit.
The state's proposal.
Correct.
In response to that inquiry.
Right.
So we've responded to the extent that we have to. The elements asked for. However, we've inserted as much language and feedback from the CAC as we possibly could. You'll note in paragraph 8, we've intentionally put in the language encompassing the entire corridor from Flying Point Road to Hayground Road. That was not one of the asks of the state. We've inserted that language. In addition, in the second resolved clause, we've added language that the town respectfully demands notice of any public hearings or process for input from members of the public. So this is really a resolution to say, start your study. Of course, we don't know what we support because the study is going to determine what things would be appropriate or what would not be appropriate. But without the initial support, they'll simply skip this area and go to the next area because, again, it's a finite amount of funding. So you want the funding, presumptively, you want the funding and you want the study.
And part of the reason, Sean, why we didn't even make this more holistic, we did the best that we could to make it more holistic, but it was precisely what you stated, that we cannot predetermine the study that will take place by the state. Because if we do that, we're essentially just inserting ourselves and we're making a conclusion without any information on that.
Right. So we've conditioned this on notice of public hearings. We want to know when the state's going to hold a public hearing, when the county's going to hold a public hearing, any other involved entities. And we want that opportunity for the public to participate. If that is not the case, if they're moving forward with something that we're not noticed of, we could always change our position so we no longer support this effort. But for now, unless we affirmatively say we support a study taking place, a study is not going to happen. They'll just skip to the next area in need.
So we're not locked in.
Correct.
You're saying. But in order for them to take a more in-depth look and evaluate, we need to do this.
Correct. Right. We'll just be bypassed if we don't.
And I would just also add, I asked the DOT for a rundown of the process of what would occur if we were to pass this resolution, issue our support to the state to say, hey, proceed. This is the chart. This is the transportation, the DOT process. I'll just pass it along for folks to take a look through. It's very, intense. Then the first thing is public input. It's pretty small. I have a larger file if you want to read it. But the whole, before any process engages of constructing anything, once that study happens, they have to meet with the public.
Right. So we're not, again, sponsoring this project. Rather, we're, for members of the public, we're your partner in advocating for what you'd like to happen here. We just need to say, yes, start the study. initially.
And I would also just add one final point on this. This also, this has the support of our town highway superintendent, primarily because when the town did the blinking yellow light along this corridor, that was essentially functioning as if there was no traffic light, because this project would essentially remove the traffic light by bookending the road. And so the highway superintendent does support this project primarily because he believes that if we were to do something of this sort, once evaluated by the state, of course, and with public input, could most likely replicate some of the movement of traffic flow along the corridor. So I did provide that letter of support for my colleagues. But I'm happy to move forward here with other comments and
So Sean, the concern is that we don't live in a 2019 world anymore. We're heavily populated now. There's way more traffic than it was. Technology has now gotten us into a situation where you and I might have known Noyak Road, but the rest of the world didn't. Everybody has their opportunity to get off the main thoroughfares. So my fear is the scope of the corridor for New York State is just a little too narrow a scope, that we should be looking into the tributary arteries that come into Watermill and what people will do if it speeds up or slows down traffic to come through one or two roundabouts. So can we word the legislation to make sure that we have a wider view of what's going on? The Traffic Mitigation Task Force specifically said that we need a broader view of what's going on. And I think just studying what we quote call the corridor or that state part of the highway is just too small a study.
So, I mean, you could say we don't support this and we'd like a new proposal. You can do that. This proposal, though, the state defined the scope of this study. That might be a step backwards, though, because the study may say that. It may say the exact point you made is this is not the same structure, not the same traffic pattern, and so this resolution really is just to let that study start today. And that's why we've made that resolve clause to demand notice of further public hearings so that the public and members of this board have the opportunity to voice that opinion.
So, Councilman, one of the whereas clauses, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8th whereas clause says, whereas the town formally requests the state engage in a study that is holistic in considering existing subdivisions, pending Southampton Town Board approval applications. That was another request of the CAC. They wanted to make sure that the state is considering the planning board applications and encompassing the entire corridor from Flying Point Road to Hague. Now, I took that as what the request was, but if you want to also add in there, we could work on some of the language to add some of the tributaries.
I think we should, because you have a chance of a cannabis dispensary in Watermill. Could be in town, could be at one end of town. That's going to add more traffic. You do have the new housing units that are opening very shortly. There's a lot going on. We have affordable housing at an end of town. I think we have to just broaden the scope a little bit.
I just wanted to add to that, not so much on the study itself and making the study broader, but encompassing within that study that would have to take into consideration hamlet character. Because you can move the traffic and maybe you move the traffic a little bit better, but is it worth sacrificing the look and the feel of the character of Watermill? I mean, the roundabouts to be functional, I mean, let's face it, if we put 2 roundabouts in that look like the roundabouts in Flanders, you will wholesale crush the entrance to Watermill, which we're trying to do the beautiful park on the entrance and have the beautiful water views. I mean, you put a commercial kind of looking, feeling, double lane traffic zone through there, you're going to, Watermill won't be Watermill anymore. So I understand the traffic issue, but I think we need to have something in there that they have to take into consideration the character of the hamlet as well, because when the county came in and they did the study on North Sea Road, it wasn't what the community wanted. The community wanted the road repaved, and then suddenly they were getting a widened road and sidewalks on both sides, and nobody asked for that, and so I think the hamlet character has to be taken into consideration when any kind of study is done. So, just my 2 cents.
And I will say, though, that, that not all the roundabouts are industrial looking, because in West Hampton Beach, we have one on either end of Main Street, and we use the checker block. in the surround so that the grass grows up. It's very soft. The inside is planted, and they're quaint, and they match the character of the community.
But I don't
so.
think but that's what I would like them to do, but on a state highway, when their object is moving traffic, I don't think these traffic engineers, they're looking at moving the most amount of cars in the most economically way. They're not looking at how can we do this. Like West Hampton took it from the aspect of we want to keep the aesthetics, we want to keep our downtown beautiful. That's what I want to make the state do too.
Yeah, well, let's add language
Yeah, we could add
to
language.
that effect and
Pretty good.
expand the scope of the.
The one they did up in Hillside.
And we also
was
don't
pretty
want
good.
one at like
Yeah.
Mitchell Lane.
The state put in some roundabouts up in the Huntington area in Hillside that were, they weren't Riverside. They weren't necessarily West Hampton Beach either, but they were in between. They might be, take a look at those.
Where?
In Hillside, up in northern New York Avenue area, north of downtown Huntington. The state did some projects when I was in the AG's office. I was involved in
Maybe you
those.
can take some pictures on your way
there-
out.
Sure.
We're not going.
I can do that.
Sean, is there a way to?
They're much nicer than Riverside, but they are, as far as the bake, not quite as imposing.
Sean, is there? This is a very minuscule question, but is there a way to be assigned a new town board resolution number?
We could always reintroduce this at a
Okay.
different meeting if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it just
well,
comes out in numerical order, so.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just revise it going forward.
Is there anybody
Reintroduce. Yeah, thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
For the explanation, good comments.
I'm not sure, has there ever been, or is there a record of when the last engineer's report was on the state? I know we've done a number of studies for County Road 39. I'm not aware. I know we have had a Hamlet study back in 2003. That's 20 years ago. It was before the second lane came in. And it's just something to think about because it feels like it might be appropriate to have a real firm, and all due respect to you and to the highway superintendent, not traffic engineers. And it probably would make sense at this point in time with these kind of ideas like roundabouts or getting rid of a light, and the affordable housing project, cannabis dispensaries, all of that, to really have a real traffic study, engineers looking at it. And to my point was a firm that actually gives you some ideas and concepts to look at and not say specifically we're asking for roundabout. Roundabouts might come up into the mix, but also are there other options? Roundabouts might also take us 5 to 10 years. Are there things in the interim to deal with Old Mill Road or Little Cobb? So it might be worth asking the state to finally, do something and give us some suggestions. We might not like it, but at least we would have a list of things to think and talk about.
Rachel, and I think the attorneys will concur with me that that's what this resolution would do. It would actually invite the engineers to come and study this to provide those concepts and ideas and other potential alternatives.
I think the language, even from the title, is to study roundabouts at the intersection of Little Cobb and at Scuttle Hall. So what I'm saying is it's very specific, which I appreciate and understand, but it is specific to roundabouts, and it might make sense to have an actual study that asks the state to provide various options to that road as opposed to just studying roundabouts. And I know it's sort of splitting hairs, but there is a difference. Thanks.
All right, Gail Lombardi.
Thank you. That's a compliment. Thank you.
It's true. It's true. If I was 20 years younger, maybe I'd be like Sunday. So I just want to circle back. That is the list from Westlaw, the type 2, information. Feel free to look at it. And I do want to circle back to that because it was very upsetting what I heard Janice say, because it's not why I signed up for open session, but with Jay, I always signed up for open session because he would always dispute what I'd say, and I knew I had to come back, so I do it anyway. And so it says specifically in that code section that it was a town board level, so as long as the said municipal project is the subject of a public hearing. So without that clarity, once you put that clarity in that you're going to take out type 2, you are limiting the number of public hearings. And I don't see like this overwhelming that you have too many public hearings. You know, sometimes you have like 20 best public hearings, I think, next period, something like that. But they're necessary. And again, I go back to solve problems up front. I think a couple of you had recommended that that hotel, I don't know which of the board members, come to the Civic Association. It's not something, you know, that we would normally have done, and they did, and you start the conversation. It's better to start the conversations up front. And on municipal property, and I know I gave you a hard time at the water district, but the municipal property that you want to put in, you know, on Quail Run, potential well, we had the problem with the Cemetery Road sewage treatment plant. That was a private road. You spend hundreds of thousands of dollars doing studies and blah, 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 getting ready to buy the property. Cemetery Road was a private road. You weren't going to get access to it. Do you know if you're going to get access to Quail Run? Like, it's those things that come up that the people that live around the areas have like this knowledge. It's not being a NIMBY. It's like it's like these unique things that we may know about the circumstances. Like Ray knows every inch of that civic center, the senior center. So it's important that you get the information up front and not deal what we're dealing with the cannabis at the back end. I give you a hard time about communication because I don't think the town does a great job on communication. There's a marketing rule of 7. You have to tell somebody something 7 times before it clicks. And Ray is my witness. We must tell people things 20 times and it doesn't click. They're waiting for the hotel to be built. When is the hotel going to be built? It's not going to be built, So we understand what you go through, but when we come to you and say, we need more information, it's not because, with all due respect, Bill, I want you in my living room. It's because we know the people that we talk to are not informed. Now, it's on them, too, to show up at meetings, and it's on them, too, to do a little of their work. I know you guys have your circles, like, I know Cindy is, when there were public hearings, she was able to get people in here, and, about the sand mines and, the beach parking. The people that I'm involved with don't have that. They're in the city during the day. They're, maybe in Florida. So it's important that we keep those lines of communications really, really open as much as possible. And doing away with public hearings is not the way to go. When Julie got elected to the town board, we had the whole rigmarole with the Bel Air, and I wish Christine Scalera was still here, and Julie turned around and said, people talk to me in the street. They don't want to put, as a park. And so the joke amongst my peers was we didn't realize you had public hearings at the King Cullen Shopping Center. And I know that's what happens. You meet people, but you have a public, forum. And it's really important that we keep the dialogue open. And so I hope that you don't, not just that one, but in general, let's try to continue to keep the dialogue open. And generally, if Ray and I come to you, it's not because we want you in our living room. We know what the people we talk to need to be informed, and thank you for bringing the Bel Air Park. That was the first I heard about it, just right this second, because we had code enforcement coming. But thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
28th, Wednesday.
Ray D'Angelo?
They put cards in, you'll have an opportunity once.
Okay, it's Ray D'Angelo, Hampton Bays. I just want to say that I liked your comments, Cindy, about the hamlet, the feel of the hamlet and everything. You put these big roundabouts, the pedestrians have a harder time crossing, and I'm not familiar with that area, but you got to take that in consideration, the impact of these big, and they're in West Hampton, there's small roundabouts. This would be like the one in Route 58 and everything. You can't cross the street there and everything, and that Montauk Highway is the main thoroughfare. So I think you really have to look at these things before you approve them. The other thing I'm going to say is that originally with this I'm just going to take a minute with the cannabis thing. Originally, I think the state originally said that they were going to honor home rule and that you could opt out of this thing. And then they changed it where you couldn't opt out of it. And I'm wondering if the town should consider having a lawsuit against the state, saying that there was a bait and switch. Originally, they said that you could opt out. The thing was approved based on that, and now you can't opt out of
You
it.
could always opt out as long as you did it by December 31st of that year.
And they made it so you needed a law to opt out, but if you did nothing, you were automatically opted in.
Well, whatever. Yeah, I really, it's a troubling situation.
It is.
Now, wait to see. Okay. Now the other topic is I already spoke to the supervisor about this, and it's about electric bikes. They're back now. It's the summertime, nice weather, and in Hampton Bays we have a lot of children. Pardon me, I'm having trouble with my breathing today. And you see these young kids, 10, 12, 13-year-old boys. These bikes go 25, 35 miles an hour, no helmets. They got a kid on the back, waving, and they go off the bike, you're going to have some serious problems with them. Now, the other thing I saw, which is very troubling, is I saw a kid had the helmet on, and he looked like he was only about 9 years old, but he was on the sidewalk. Now, he might weigh about 80 pounds, and the bikes are very heavy because the battery's in it. So, you got maybe 120 pounds of kinetic energy. They hit somebody, they're going to hurt somebody, seriously. So I don't know what the suggestion should be, but I don't know, maybe, I'm thinking I can maybe work with the police department. Maybe if they see children on it without a helmet, they take the kid in. I'm not suggesting they be arrested, but take him and the bike into the station, have the parents come up, inform them that the kid has to have a helmet and the safety issues with the bike, and they give it back. If it happens the second time, you confiscate the bike. I'm just throwing these out here because I see this all the time, and my wife and I looked in horror. And I said, one of these young boys, or I'm sure there's girls on these bikes too, is going to go down 30 miles an hour, unprotected skull.
30 seconds.
It's going to be a really terrible accident, and it's going to impact these children seriously. So I know I spoke to the supervisor previously about this, so I thought maybe this might come up on your radar and think about this, because I think something is needed. I mean, in the city, it's you take your life in your hand. I was in Astoria, and they're all over the place, and so now it's the warmer weather. You see them again.
Yeah, I did after you said something to me. I wrote to the chief, and he said the law is that no one under 16 is allowed to ride an electric bike by state law. And but if somebody's caught, it's difficult because you can't do anything without the parent being present to write the ticket. I mean, he's got a whole list of
They also can't chase them.
information,
Well, I'm not looking
so I
to
can
have
give
these.
you, what the rules are.
Yeah, I'm not looking to have these 12-year-old killed imprisoned, but
No,
but I think for their own safety. I mean,
I think we can actually absolutely do a PSA on it and alert parents, maybe in partners with
Yeah, and
the
also-
school, we can do a PSA to let them know. And, like to your point on the sidewalks, you can't hear those things coming. They don't make a
no, they're
sound.
silent.
So,
And you have young operators, so they're not so savvy, and and they feel they have the right of way. And I'm looking at some woman with a older woman walking with a walker or a laundry thing or.
He said they're
Some-
having the school resource officer give classes in school about e-bike regulations. And,
Well, I spoke to Lars Clemenson, who's the superintendent of the Hampton Bays, and there were 7 incidents where their students went down on these bikes. So I think that it should be looked at, some type of attention given to it. I'm going to email the police chief. He's not making it our next meeting, but maybe the meeting after that, because I think it's just a matter of time. These things are very fast. I mean, I don't drive that fast, but they go zooming right by me, and also the scooters, and if they're unprotected, the young kids, they're not thinking, so you got to think for them. But anyway, thank you very much, and I appreciate the time. I want to thank you again for having the water meeting at Hampton Bays. It didn't work out exactly what we wanted, but that's what we wanted, and I guess there was a miscommunication. I hope the next one we'll get it right. So I want to thank you again for showing up. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Does anybody else would like to speak?
Steve.
Steve?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Supervisor Moore, members of the board. I just wanted to express appreciation for the way you're approaching this resolution with regard to the DOT study of the corridor, which may or may not include roundabouts. But there will be an opportunity here, I'm sure, when you receive this study to examine what they have recommended, to see if there are aesthetic issues with regard to any consideration that they're planning on doing, and that we're not going to be defacing the Watermill community. There's also, importantly, a matter of safety. There's a Gordian knot in Watermill, without question, with regard to traffic. A lot of people call the traffic light by more colorful names. And so we have to find a way of moving traffic through more smoothly and safely. We have an issue with regard to safety of left-hand turns from the north side of the road. The DOT has already done studies in the vicinity of Little Cobb and also Scuttle Hole Road, and determined that, well, they did complete accident studies, that the concepts have merit for producing Watermill roundabouts in those areas. But that doesn't mean that we're going to necessarily do it. You're approaching it in a cautious way. You're having a study done so that you can evaluate it, that you can have more knowledge and more input from professionals up in the state. And when you receive that, I'm sure you'll be able to make a more informed decision. You're not making one now, not pushing anything on the public now. You're studying it, which is worthwhile. So I hope you pass that resolution. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Is anyone on Zoom, Kevin?
Yeah, we have one hand up. Just waiting for them to accept or decline it. They're joining now.
Hello?
Hi.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I can't see you now, but my name is Andrew Roof. I'm a resident of Watermill. Thanks for allowing me to be heard. I see that we are talking about traffic and doing a study in Watermill, and I can only think, yes, how quickly and possible objections could there be? I think we've all seen what a disaster traffic has become. I think everyone, even the people who are opposed to this, are in agreement that something needs to be done. I think we've seen recently with what Mr. McCardle and Mr. Iselli have done, that tweaks and modifications can yield big gains. And if we're talking about allowing the state to come in and advise us with traffic experts and people who do this for a living, I say yes. And if we can get more, great. If we could do a corridor study, fantastic. But if this is a proposal, how can we possibly be opposed to it? Because we need all the help we can get. We're in crisis. The situation continues to get worse. More people are coming. And as you all know, we've got those condos across from the Green Thumb. There's the Ewell property that they're talking about adding 20 more. Like, there's going to be increased congestion no matter what we do. And yet here we are continuing to add development. So let's get this study going. Let's add more studies when we can. I 100% enthusiastically endorse this and don't think it's the time to be splitting hairs about anything. We need help immediately. Let's get this forward. Let's work on the next proposal and go from there. Thank you very much for allowing me to be heard, and I appreciate all your effort, all of you on the board.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Kevin, is there anyone else on Zoom?
That's all for Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Then I move to close public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
let's move forward with the resolution.
Town Board Resolution 2025-621. This is
Steve.
to adopt town one-year agricultural use agreement for 2025-2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 622 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell. Amend Resolution 2024-734, authorize supervisor to sign a contract with LaGuardia Design Group for landscape to provide design development drawings and construction documents for 15 and 17 Old Country Road and 511 Cobb Road, Watermill, New York.
Second.
I wasn't sure if this was additional funds and to what was previously approved. I wrote to Jackie, but I wasn't able to hear back today, so. The source of funding changed? That's all it was? Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-623 to authorize the purchases of General Motors, Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ford OEM repairs and parts from the Eastern Suffolk BOCES contract with TNT Baldwin Automotive, Inc. and DCO Motors Eagle C LLC DBA Eagle Chevrolet of Riverhead.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 624 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell, authorized purchases of outdoor fitness equipment for parks and trails with Landscape Structures, Inc., using Sourcewell contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-625, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, authorized purchases of public safety video surveillance from Axon Enterprise, Inc., using the Sourcewell contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 626 of 2025, co-sponsored with Supervisor Moore and Councilman Pell, authorized supervisor to execute a contract extension with L.K. McLean Associates Engineering and Surveying, DPC, to provide professional services for Riverside Maritime Park accessible kayak launch and fishing pier in Riverside.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-627, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell, authorize the supervisor to issue a satisfaction of a buyer benefit note and mortgage on a community benefit unit.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-628 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract extension for Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles with Otis Ford.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-629, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Magnet Forensics LLC for digital evidence analysis tool and platform subscription services for the town police department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-630, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell. This is to authorize the supervisor to sign a satisfaction of mortgage on 2 community development block grant loans.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-631, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize supervisor to sign any and all documents with Celebrite, Inc. to assist the town police department in providing evidentiary data to other agencies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-632, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Nelson and Pope for professional services relating to building improvements at the Southampton Town Police Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-633, to authorize the renewal of Pictometry's online software.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 634 of 2025, authorize the supervisor to execute 2025 Parks and Recreation agreements for programs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 635 of 2025, authorize the supervisor to execute 2025 stewardship agreement with Frank Belson for custodial services at Wildwood Lake Park in Northampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 636 of 2025, authorize the supervisor to execute 2025 stewardship agreements with Eva Aquino, Christian Estrada, Shanice Piguet, and Brandon Kelly to provide custodian services at Tiana Beach Activity Center.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-637, co-sponsored with the whole board, authorize supervisor to execute a consult agreement with Lisa Cromer, expert to provide professional service for the Community Preservation Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-638, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Michael J. Guido Jr., Architect, PC, to provide preliminary designs for renovations to the town boardroom and town hall auditorium.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 639 of 2025, authorize the supervisor to execute a license agreement with Lily's Boat Club LLC for the use of 2 boat slips at Bishop's Marina.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-640, co-sponsored with Councilman Montel, authorize supervisor to sign contract to extend award Community Preservation Fund a 20% quality improvement project fund for the Library Avenue Owners Corp. DBA Hampton Harbor House.
Second.
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 2025-641, co-sponsored with Councilman Pell, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with the Board of Trustees of the Commonalty of the Town of Southampton from 2022 Community Preservation Fund water quality monies for Sacaponic Pond aquatic habitat restoration.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-642, co-sponsored with Councilman Martell, authorize service to sign a no-cost contract extending with the Board of Trustees with Community Commonwealth of the Town of Southampton for the Community Preservation Fund water quality monies for the Sag Harbor Inlet Management Aquaculture Habitat Restoration.
Second.
All in favor? Town Board Resolution 2025-643, to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract amendment number 1 with H2M Architects and Engineers to provide surveying services established in the designated professional surveying firms for the town of Southampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 644 of 2025, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Delta Well and Pump Company Incorporated for district-wide well and pump maintenance and repair at the Hampton Bays Water District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 645 of 2025, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with Eastern Motorcycle Sales Limited, doing business as Long Island Kawasaki Yamaha for activity vehicles rebid.
Second.
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 2025-646, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract with the Long Island Mason and Concrete Corp. The requirement of contract for miscellaneous concrete construction.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-647, award and authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Kristen Construction LLC for Yacht Club Drive bulkhead replacement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-648, to award and authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Ronald Webb Builder LLC for the Bridgehampton Community House column restoration.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-649, to recall and amend Resolution 2024-1432, authorize the supervisor to execute a intermunicipal agreement, a IMA, with the town of Islip for accepting the town's commingled container obtained through the recycling program.
Second.
All in favor?
Town-
Board-
Oops, go ahead.
Town Board Resolution 2025-650,
Second.
to recall and amend Town Board Resolution 2024-1218, to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract extension with DePierre Enterprises, Inc., DBA Ricky's Plumbing Supply, and Nugent and Potter for the supply of plumbing supplies for the town.
Second.
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 2025-651, recall and amend Town Board Resolution number 2025-380, award and authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Decor Construction, Inc. for Lake Agrum South Park improvement.
Second.
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 2025-652, 2025 notice to bidders for Farm and Stay Field 93 Better Lane, Bridgehampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-653 to amend the 2025 adopted budget for legal fees.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm actually going to vote no on this. Thank you.
You understand this is for all of our legal and
I understand
highway
that's,
legal and
well, not necessarily, actually. We had meetings about this, and it's not exactly all of it. I hope that we don't have to have a discussion
Okay.
here about it. So I'm a no. Thank you.
Got it.
Town Board Resolution 2025-654, amend the 2025 adopted budget for the pump out boat maintenance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-655 to amend the 2025 adopted budget for trustees' part-time salaries.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-656 to amend the 2025 budget for various departments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, who's the second?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-657, co-sponsored with Councilman Pell, to amend the 2025-2029 capital budget for body-worn cameras grant match project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye, and co-sponsor, Madam Clerk.
Town Board Resolution 2025-658 to amend the 2025-2029 capital budget for town-wide road improvements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-659 to deposit monies for professional services in connection with Sabonic Golf Course 2025 groundwater monitoring review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-660 to deposit monies into escrow account for professional services in connection with the Lewis Road PRD Golf Course 2025 groundwater monitoring review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-661, Flanders Northampton Volunteer Ambulance Company Service Award Program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-662, co-sponsored by Councilman Pell, to appoint Councilmember Michael Iacilli to the Suffolk County Gabreski Airport Community Advisory Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Michael, I'd like to complain about the noise up there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
You're next.
Town Board Resolution 2025-663. This is a resolution of adoption, amending Chapter 298, establishing Article 19, Section 298-59, eligibility for a tax exemption on real property for enrolled members of Ocean Rescue Squads, co-sponsored with the entire board.
Second.
All in favor?
Town Board Resolution 664 of 2025, co-sponsored by Councilmembers Iacilli and Martell. Authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the East Quogue Fire Department Memorial Day Parade on May 25th, 2025, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 665 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilmembers Iacilli and Martell. Authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the Southampton Elks Carnival for May 16th to May 18th and May 23rd to May 25th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is Town Board Resolution 2025-666. This is a memorializing resolution in support of the New York State DOT proposed roadway improvements, Water Mill intersection of Little Cobb Road and Montauk Highway and Water Mill and Scuttle Hole Road and Montauk Highway, State Route 27 and Water Mill. This has to do with what was discussed earlier with respect to a roundabout study, although as specified in the title, it doesn't actually even say roundabouts, but I believe it is, at the request of Councilman Martell that we table this and spend a bit more time with the language.
Appreciate that.
Back to it. So I'll make a motion to table.
To what meeting would you like to table?
To
Next meeting.
next meeting is fine,
If
yeah.
you want to change the language, do you want to just withdraw it, put a new resolution on?
So you just need
27.
I could get a new number. I hate to be superstitious, but it's just, yeah, let's withdraw and we'll work with a new draft.
We're going to withdraw now?
That sounds like a good idea.
The 666.
It's just a bad omen.
Oh. My grandmother was born on May 13th in 1913.
Oh.
So there was some of those.
On a Friday?
Concerns.
On a
Yeah,
Friday.
On a Friday the 13th.
And I just want to, I just want to also mention on the record here that it was my intention this whole entire time, as this came to the supervisor and I, when we were doing the traffic task force as well as the task force members. My whole goal was to get the public involved from the get-go, and that's why Tom and I went to the Watermill CAC and met with them about it to talk. And look, I will say, yeah, you had some people that were, they seem fearful of roundabouts. They seem fearful of driving through the roundabouts. But there's also that, acknowledgement that something has to be done over there too. So I just hope that we could come to some.
I think we all support it.
I think we do.
For
Yeah.
a slight clarification.
Yes, and I just want to again emphasize my commitment to the public process, making sure that we're working together and listening to the public. Thank you. Do we have to vote to withdraw or no? Withdrawn.
Town Board Resolution 667 of 2025, co-sponsored with council members Iacilli and Pell. Recall and amend Resolution number 588 of 2022 as it relates to video conferencing procedures.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-668, sponsored by the entire board, a resolution in support of HR 8753 as it relates to the designation of single unique zip codes for certain communities. All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-669, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a maintenance bond in connection with the site plan known as LI Automobile Collectors in the hamlet of Southampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-670, co-sponsored by Council Members Pell and McNamara, a resolution releasing a maintenance bond in connection with the subdivision map known as Post Fields LLC and accepting Carwin Lane into the highway system.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-671 to accept the resignation of Joseph Holmes Jr., heavy equipment operator in the Highway Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-672 to accept the resignation of Paul Sopko, construction equipment operator in the Municipal Works Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-673 to accept the retirement of Christopher Langsdorf, automotive equipment operator in the Municipal Works Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-674 to accept the retirement of Kristen Burke, Public Safety Dispatcher 1 in Police Communications.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-675, the annual cybersecurity conference in Albany for information systems personnel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-676 to appoint Abigail Bodecker to Office Assistant in the Comptroller's Office.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-677 to appoint Anka Palagita to Budget Assistant in the Comptroller's Office.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-678 to appoint Gina Cummings to Office Assistant, Spanish Speaking and Public Safety.
Second.
You're so fast. All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-679 to appoint Holly Dove Rossi to Office Assistant in the Housing and Community Services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-680 to appoint Patrick Johnson to Justice Court Clerk in the Justice Court.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 681 of 2025, attend advanced crisis negotiations course in Oriskany, New York.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-682, authorize drug court judge to attend the All Rise Annual Conference of Rise 25 from May 28th to May 31st, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-683 to authorize the Town of Southampton to adopt the Roth Deferred Compensation Plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So this I wrote to Jackie, and I haven't yet heard back. I only wrote her this morning, but she was going to follow up on a matter involving this resolution. I don't know if anybody else heard from her.
Let's just sit on the public.
Schedule a public hearing.
No, I mean, checking my email there. Yeah, I'm just concerned about setting precedent here.
Table? Table it. You can always motion to table.
I'll make a motion to table.
Table motion now. Second to table?
Okay, who made the motion?
If you have a concern
Bill
about
made
it,
the motion.
Okay.
if you have a concern about it, then we have to be transparent and find out what the concern is.
Yeah.
If you feel comfortable with it, then we'll go
To May
forward.
27th
I just want to schedule a public hearing.
May 27th.
is the next meeting.
But then you have to change that.
There's a
Then
lot
we
of
have to
public
change the
hearings on
public
that
hearing
meeting.
notice.
Right.
Would be best.
Will we just be scheduling?
Well, we
we'd
just
We
adjourn
would
the-
table.
No, I understand.
Yeah, that's gonna be a long meeting. All right, because I don't want to get too far down the road scheduling a public hearing if we're not.
So this is only for a public
This is
hearing.
noticing the public hearing, this resolution, so we could table it to the next meeting to notice it for
You
the
may as well
following.
withdraw it and then renotice it at the next meeting.
Let's do that.
We'll withdraw?
Either
Withdrawing.
withdraw it or, okay, let's withdraw it.
Okay.
And then she'll.
So that would be the same for the next one?
This one is different because it's the municipality. She said she thought it was
Important.
that, you know, if it's a municipality and we're involved and it's a CPF property with the park, it's different than a private owner. So. All right, so Town Board Resolution 2025-685, co-sponsored by the entire board, which is a notice of public hearing for funding for water quality improvement project for the Village of Southampton Moses Lane Park IA project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-686, co-sponsored by the entire board, a notice of public hearing to consider the acquisition of 11 Pellins Lane in the hamlet of North Sea, New York, and to amend the CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Both on the 27th. Oh, another one. Town Board Resolution 2025-687, co-sponsored by the entire board, a notice of public hearing to consider the adoption of the 2025 CPF pilot plan payments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-688, co-sponsored with Councilman Pell. This is to notice the public hearing to amend Southampton Town Code, Chapter 312, Section 312-97, entitled Speed Limits Within Community Planning Areas, subsection H, entitled Noyak, unincorporated Sag Harbor. This is to set the public hearing for June 10th, 2025 at 1 p.m. This is again making the entire Noyak Road residential corridor consistently 30 miles per hour from 35.
Second. It goes up and down from 30
It
to
does, it's
35.
inconsistent throughout.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And Town Board Resolution 2025-689 to accept a deed of residual fee from Ross and Conklin for property to be maintained as open space located at Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map Number as indicated pursuant to Southampton Town Code Section 244-4 and Section 247 General Municipal Law of the State of New York.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we have the three walk-ons. Town Board Resolution ID number 49889 to authorize the first-time homebuyers down payment assistance funding from the Community Housing Fund.
Second.
Second.
Well.
What?
That's fine.
Did you want to keep,
Well, me and Rick are, but that's fine.
oh,
It's
I
okay.
thought it said MM.
That's okay. No,
did on the
no,
front.
it's fine.
This is-
No, you could read it. You're good. You and Bill second it. That's fine. We can move forward.
You could change it up. Right now's your chance. So
Change
it's
it
either,
up.
it's one
Go
or the
ahead,
other.
do it.
No,
This
no,
is your
no,
group.
no.
This is your
it's really
thing.
fun. It's no big deal. Well, this is it's pretty great because this is really the first disbursement, right?
We're
of,
excited
down
about
payment
this one.
assistance.
I'm gonna need glasses.
Me and Rick,
Squinting.
me and Rick have been working
So-
with Kara, and you know this is a pretty big moment. So
Yeah, so
All right.
can you put it
Yes,
as
of
though
course.
he read it?
I'm going to do it as it's written.
Okay,
Okay.
yes, as written.
And it's Cindy's turn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
You want me to read this?
What?
It's
You're sponsored.
Okay.
now it's a supervisor.
It says town board.
Town Board Resolution ID number 49892 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract.
Oh, I skipped.
Oh, it's co-sponsored by the entire board. To authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Arcadis Architects, Engineers, and Landscape Architects, a general partnership for professional services related to the Jackson Avenue Master Plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's exciting. And the last walk-on is Town Board Resolution ID number 49920, which is warrant number 9, capital number 9, CPF number 9, dated May 13th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
That you're looking at there?
No, I did not get the walk on.
You didn't get the
I
walk-on.
did want to say before we close, congratulations to the new hires, but also congratulations on retirement for Kristen Burke, our dispatcher, and for Chris Langsdorff. And for Chris Langsdorff. They've both been longtime employees.
Yes.
I remember Chris from when I was in the Parks Department many years ago. And
When you were in
Kristen's-
the Parks Department?
Yes, he's been here, he predates my entry here, so,
Mhm.
and Kristen's been here quite a long time as well.
It's got a great name.
Yeah.
Congratulations. All right, well, if there's no other business, then I move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.